of July 29th, 2024. Yeah, it's my birthday week. I know you, but let's not fill up the comments section with happy birthday wishes. It's a very interesting week, and not just because of my birthday. And at the end of this forecast, I will go back and talk about last week because it's also an interesting week. Well, I usually shy away from political discussions and things like that because, people always mistake what I'm saying. This time it's just too good to ignore. So we're going to give a little, and I have charts too. I have charts that I'm going to show you so that, if you're a real astro geek, you might like that, which I thoroughly encourage you to be an astro geek. Okay, so let's talk about this week coming up. We are coming away from the full moon. We're at the last quarter moon. We're sort of waning into the Leo new moon, which is on August 4th. That's next Sunday. Sunday coming over here. So on the way there, we have a few things of interest that are worth looking at. There's a lot of stuff going on that would be relevant to relationship. Okay, Venus is at the very end of Leo, last few degrees of Leo, and there will be some connection with Uranus, and there will be connection between Uranus and partnership asteroid Juno, and this is going on from like the 30th. Let's say it's going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll say into Friday, and so the thought about having Uranus connecting with Venus. Well, Uranus is in Venus's home sign of Taurus, so they're kind of speaking the same language. What I would think it indicates in general, and the Juno Uranus thing as well, it's sort of like the ability to make changes in relationship, if that's an issue for you. If it's not, then it doesn't really matter. But if it is an issue for you, this week is a good opportunity period to make changes. Change the style of your partnership, break up your routines a little bit, or find somebody new if that's what the thing is for you. But it sort of has this kind of make changes kind of energy. Uranus is really encouraging there to be a mix up of the usual patterns, and there's nothing wrong with mixing up the usual patterns. It's good to change things up now and again, but not just relationship, mind you. It's also great if you have creative projects going on and you want to make some changes there. If you want to, if you're potentially might have an effect on your finances or just our collective finances. That's another thing that might be on tap this week. So let's just say this is a good week for making changes. Now, because the moon is waning, we're probably more inclined to let go of things that don't work than to initiate something new that we feel would work. That's just part of the picture for this particular go round of Venus and Uranus and company. That's kind of the way things are going. We also have to remember the waning energy of the new moon is I don't want to say supported by, but we also certainly don't want to say supported by, but we also have Mercury stationing to retrograde. Now, technically, depends what time zone you're in, but Mercury stations to retrograde right around 1 a.m. on Monday the 5th, which means that the most pernicious aspects of Mercury retrograde are likely to really show up in a big way. Let's say Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday the 5th. We will talk about that next week in the event that technical difficulties don't intervene. You can always watch, just search through the channel content here. Just click on the Integral Astro button that's at the bottom, and you can go search through for the Mercury retrograde video, which is really good to watch. You should watch that. And if you've seen it before, see it again. And I know I've said that before, but I'm saying it again because it's Mercury retrograde and we do things over. But be aware that we're deep into the shadow of Mercury's retrograde all week long. So when it comes to things like signing contracts, buying electronics, anything to do with automobiles, and so on, we're gonna get the full effect of Mercury retrograde throughout this week. It might be a little bit more subtle. I mean, we'll probably see some real, you know what? We had no sooner did Mercury get into the shadow of his retrograde than we had the big global IT outage, which I think we'd have to really dig up exactly what was going on there. But yeah, but Mercury was tangling with some folks at that point in time. Mercury at the end of Leo, quincunx to Neptune, taking that square from Uranus, and in the shadow of his retrograde. I guess, right? But hopefully we won't have anything quite so dramatic on the fourth and fifth, third, fourth, and fifth. But you know, keep in mind that that is when things tend to go wrong on a local scale as well as on a global scale. So really want to be careful right around that period of time for any mercurial activities. And remember, only mercurial activities are, communication, travel, electronics. All of those things are likely to be affected, but no, it doesn't affect other things. I would suggest, though, with Mercury in the shadow of his retrograde and all this Venus Uranus stuff going on, that if you have some message to get across to people, it would probably be a really good idea to, like, either speak in person or on the phone. This is a real recipe for texting going wrong. Getting the wrong message out there, or maybe getting the right message out there, but you don't always want to get the full right message out there. You want to titrate it to the situation. You're liable to really get the full message out there and then have to go rework it a little bit later. So careful with communications this week. Try to do it in person. Let the tone of your voice have an effect rather than just the words. And I would say that particularly in terms of relationship, although again, sometimes a little mishap might get things moving, and that's what you need to stir up, and that turns out being a good thing at the end of the day, which will probably be after Mercury goes direct. Now, this Venus Uranus make changes type of thing, not only happening as we approach the new moon, it's actually going to have the most effect towards the weekend, Thursday, Friday, when the moon is in Cancer. Now, the moon in Cancer tends towards a little bit more, conservative, not like in the political sense, but a little more conservative kind of energy, a little more traditional kind of energy, a little bit more like closer to home sort of feel. And that might be the source of some tensions when it comes to socializing, not just in partnerships and so on, but just with socializing. Because you're kind of feeling this Uranus energy that's affecting our relationships and socializing and creativity, and you sort of want to break out of the box. And then you got the waning Cancer moon, sort of balsamic, if you want to get technical about it, the really deeply waning Cancer moon, essentially saying, let's just stay home. And that could be a tension. It could be a tension between you and somebody else. More likely, it's just a tension within yourself. Like, I really want to go out and do this. That would be fun. I don't know if I really have the energy to do it. That kind of thing might be going on towards the weekend. And if it's going on for you, then you say, okay, and you decide what you want to decide. Don't let it bum you out and have any sort of an effect on you. Now, the new moon is on the 4th. It's 12 degrees of Leo. We're almost halfway through the sign of Leo. It's a good time coming out of the new moon to set intentions around creativity and fun and thinking where you want to, like where you want to play. What's your play thing like over the next year? What would be the creative thing? What would be the fun thing over the course of the next year? Where's your energy going to go? That's about what the Leo new moon is good for. And again, you really sort of have to wait till we wax out of that new moon. Usually you wait until you can see the crescent moon. That's the best time to actually set your intentions. Will probably be in Virgo, so you might want to wait even a little bit longer. There's no pressure. It's about having fun. It's no pressure. It's about having fun. All right, there we have it for the week. The moon is waning. Energy is draining. I just said it because it rhymes. It's not literally true. But the moon is waning. The energy is sort of coming down. We're heading towards the Mercury retrograde. All moon in Cancer towards the weekend, and then Friday night, the moon is in Cancer, right? Waning moon in Cancer. That really sounds like, it's August 2nd, really sounds like staying closer to home. And then Saturday night, the moon is in Leo, which would be so much better if it wasn't for the fact that it's really, really a new moon. Be a very, very pleasant time. And you can go out. You can go out either night. Actually, my band is playing actually on Friday night. We'll see. We'll see. I'll tell you next week how it went. Yeah, Mercury allowing. But you have a good time getting out either night. But I would expect it to be a good time, but a little bit more mellow. A little bit more mellow than you might otherwise expect. And because of Venus, Mercury may be a little bit more mellow than you'd like. It's not such a problem, is it? Not such a problem. After all this excitement, later on Sunday, Venus leaves Leo and goes into Virgo, where we start to get a little bit of the shift now. We got Mercury, this kind of retrograde from early Virgo. We got Venus in Virgo. It's a little bit of a different sort of feel to things. The sun is still in Leo. We're still in Leo season, but we start to get a little bit more of that Virgoan vibe slipping into the picture. You may start to think about some stuff that you could do that would be a little bit more of a project kind of orientation. Maybe, I'm not going to say the words, but it's still summertime. The peak of summer still is. But maybe no, nothing like that's going to happen. It's still summertime, unless you're in like Australia, in which case it's wintertime. And well, so let's talk a little bit about last week and that full moon in Capricorn, because that full moon in Capricorn really got my attention. And I started to think back about how things have played out with the US election. And there's some really, really interesting connections and resonances that just cool to look at. And I just want to say that they're cool to look at. They don't necessarily mean anything. It's a resonance. Well, they mean something, but it's a resonance, right? And when you've got something that resonates in time, it's a little hard to think about. So I use a spatial analogy a lot. So imagine you go on a road trip, and you get to an intersection someplace up in the country or something like that, and you go left, go right, go straight. I don't care. And a few years later, you're taking another road trip, and you get to the same intersection, and then you think to yourself, "I've been here before. I've been here before." And the last time I was here, and you start thinking about your last road trip, and then you think what I did last time, and then you think, well, what do I want to do this time? Am I looking to recreate that? Am I looking to make changes and so on? These are the kinds of things we think of. That's what the resonance is. I've been here before. Only astrologically, we're talking, I've been here in time before as opposed to place. And I thought it wasn't a great idea to have that debate on so close to the Capricorn full moon in June. That's probably a little bit dicey. It's early Capricorn full moon. And we had a month of fallout from that debate. And then on the second Capricorn full moon, we had President Biden saying that he's not going to run for re-election. We had a space of a month between one full moon event shining the light on things and the next full moon event shining the light on things. Both of them in Capricorn, both sandwiched into Capricorn. So what occurs to me? It occurs to me that the debate full moon in June was in very early Capricorn. And that is the position that Pluto was in 2008 when Barack Obama was elected president and Joe Biden became vice president. Actually, Pluto at that point in time, on election day, was in very, very late Sagittarius. And on inauguration day, he was at 1 degree of Capricorn. And that's where the full moon was on debate night. As we go forward with things, the second full moon is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And guess where Pluto is going to be on election day in 2024, right? So we have these resonances with early Capricorn, which goes back to 2008. And then we have the resonances going forward in time. Not that Pluto hasn't been at 29 Capricorn, he has. In election day in 2024. So you can see that the Capricornian energy, the beginning Capricorn energy of 2008, 2009, resonates with the ending Capricorn energy of 2024. What does that mean in terms of, who's going to win? But I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that we're obviously looking back over the period of time since 2008 to make an assessment of where we have gone and what we want to do. Or at least, I suppose, Joe Biden is.